And now moving on to our other guests, we have Dennis Amachree, security consultants. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on Galaxy TV News. Okay, all right, if you can hear me, the defense headquarters has confirmed the emergence of a new terrorist group known as Lukewaras, Wasa, and the northwestern part of the country. What do you think could have been responsible for this latest development?
Thank you very much for inviting me. You see, this new terrorist group that has been found in the northern part of the country is basically, there are certain factors that must have caused it. One of the major factors is our relationship, our military relationship with Niger Republic. When the Niger Republic had the coup and they want to break away from ECOWAS, and of course, when we wanted to attack them, a lot of us came out to say, no, that is a wrong move. And then, of course, that idea was dropped. But when you look at it, most of the military joint task force that has been operating between Nigeria and Niger has been able to, deter some of these things from happening. Because we come to find out that when you look at the background or the profile of the Lukewaras, they are Tuaregs, from the desert, from the Sahel, who came from Mali and then, of course, Niger into Nigeria. And that leads to what the Commodore was saying about our porous borders. The borders have been very, very porous. Arms and ammunition have been moving in and out without any check. So for that particular area, we don't expect much, because even ISIS or ISWAP have moved in through that same porous borders, and we've not done anything about it. And if you look at it, there are other things. They came in there, infiltrated into the communities. They had a lot of money. They came under the guise of religion. And then, of course, they were spending a lot of money. And now these monies that they've been spending, of course, can be traced back to the solid minerals that exist in that area. So you find out that these monies have been there to spend, and then, of course, convince the people. When government, our own government, has allowed these, should I call them, ungoverned spaces, they occupy it, and then, of course, try to give money to the localities, and at the same time trying to talk to them about religion. And then, of course, you find out that they will occupy the place. But I'm happy for one thing. The military has been able to identify, the security agencies are working together to identify them, and then, of course, isolate them to 2 states. And we need to work on that right now so that we can nip it in the bud. Because if we allow it, it will just be like Boko Haram, start to spread, across those 2 states.
All right. So the defense spokesman stated that the new terror group originated in the Republic of Niger after the recent coup, which disrupted military cooperation between Algeria and Niger. So what should have been done to avoid the incursion? Because he said we need to nip this in the bud so that we don't have another Boko Haram type of crisis at hand. What do you recommend should be done?
There are some fundamental issues, underlying issues around that border area. Why should a terrorist group find a foothold in our country? Number one would be the environment, the level of poverty, and then, of course, again, you find out that people are unemployed, lack of education. Lack of education, so they don't have the opportunity to have a better job. So we have been trying to solve this problem, in Nigeria. We've been trying to solve it. How do we either provide education for these people so that they can have a meaningful means of, livelihood? And education does not necessarily have to be a lawyer or doctor or anything. Even in farming, they can be, educated in farming so that they can do better farming, more productive farming, instead of the one that they could just plant and eat and then, of course, sell the extra. So we would want to make them to learn more. And then, of course, there should be other non-kinetic issues whereby it's not just a military thing, where the natives there will come to see the Nigerian military as friends. We have to talk to them. We have to educate them. We have to show presence, because sometimes some of these local governments are so far-flung in such a way that they don't even think that there is a government. And when these terrorists come around and start to even tax them to pay money before they go to their farm, they see those terrorists as the government. So these are the things we have to do. These ungoverned spaces must be covered. We have to cover it up. There is a local government there. Why can't the local government show presence? Now, of course, politically, they've asked them to, they are going to have their own funds. So when they have their own funds, we will see what they are going to do with it, because they have to better the lives of the people in that local government. It's not for people to just, pocket the money and disappear or run down to Sokoto or Abuja without doing something in those local governments. So there is a lot of reformation and restructuring that will take place, for things to get better. Otherwise, these people will have a stronghold. And then, of course, hungry, unemployed youths, those are the people that they can easily recruit. And we have to, stop that. And then, of course, move on.
All right, we thank you so much for sharing with us from the wealth of your experiences. Thank you so much for being part of our news at this time.
Thank you for having me.